Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being with us today and taking time to learn more about single gender education, a little bit about Marymount Schools specifically. My name is Carolyn Booth. I'm the Director of Admissions at Marymount. Single gender education, it's such a foreign concept to many people because they had coeducational experiences. People say they feel like it's not real life. They feel like it shields girls. It doesn't prepare them for university and life beyond. I myself am a product of co-ed schools, and I really didn't learn about single gender education until I became an educator and started working at Marymount, learning about all the benefits of all girls schools. And then I had two girls. So my now college age daughters have attended Marymount. They went from age 3 to age 18. They're very different girls, but I can tell you from personal experience that Marymount was the place where they found their voice, where they discovered their passions, where they learned to lead with confidence, and that they have this, they're just incredibly brave and resilient in a way that I never was at their age. But you don't have to just believe me. There is a lot of research that's been done out there about single gender schools, specifically all girls schools. And in my experience, the research doesn't lie. What they have discovered in their research, first and foremost, is that girls perform better academically overall. They score higher on standardized tests. They are 6 times more likely to study STEM related fields in college. That's science, technology, engineering, mathematics. They talk about girls benefiting from increased leadership opportunities that they have before they go to college. They're better writers, they're better public speakers. At all girls schools, educators teach girls the way girls learn best. It's interactive, it's collaborative, it's hands-on experiential learning, real world problem solving. All girls schools are very focused. They're a supportive environment where girls get the attention that they need to thrive. Girls at all girls schools are said to be more motivated, more ambitious, especially as they look to careers in their future. They become adults who are more politically active. They're more involved in their community. You can learn all of this if you do your research. My recommendation for you, if you want to do more of your own research, is to go to a website. We'll throw the link in the chat here. The National Coalition of Girls Schools is a great place to go. They have a great compilation of all the different research. So those are just some of the statistics that I thought would be interesting for you to hear about.
And Carolyn, can I jump in for 1 second?
Yes.
So we have live transcript available. Anyone who wants the subtitle to help you understand, please. If you look at the bottom of your Zoom, you can see it says CC live transcript. If you click that, you will able to see what Carolyn is talking about. You can see full transcript on the right side of your bar, and you can click show subtitle. 所以我们今天的这个也是 Carolyn 他们也是想得非常的周到，给我们有字幕，下面有字幕。大家如果看你的最下面的那一行 Zoom 写 live transcript， 应该是从右边数第2个 CC live transcript。如果你点那个 show subtitle， 这样就可以看到实时的看到我们在讲什么了。当然现在 subtitle 只有英文。Okay, that's it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jillian Pagliacca. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions, and I just wanted to quickly reinforce a couple of the points that Carolyn made before we involve our students in the conversation. I'm sure you are most interested in hearing from them. But Carolyn mentioned public speaking, and I think that's a very strong hallmark of an all-girls education. So, for example, at Marymount, we do have a required speech component. Students are often asked to speak in a presentation to their classmates. We have a strong theater program. The students are encouraged to get up on the stage. And I think even informally, every day in class, students are expected to be in the conversation and continue to sharpen their voices. Another point I wanted to emphasize is this idea of role modeling female leadership. So at Marymount, for example, we have a female head of school, and many of the women who are making the most important decisions at the school, you know, they are excellent role models for our students. They are really smart, they are wise, they are caring, and as our students become older, they find themselves in leadership positions themselves, and then the younger students look up to them. So it's a really powerful kind of trajectory in that way. I also wanted to say a quick word about something we call growth mindset. And this comes from our girls being in schools where they feel really safe and secure in who they are. The environment is supportive. And what this enables them to do is to maybe take more academic risks. Perhaps they might decide to try a new sport they've never been a part of. And this is possible because they know that their classmates and their teachers will be behind them. It's an academic rigorous environment, but it's not cutthroat in the way that, you know, if someone's studying for a test, everybody's studying together. Study guides get shared. It's this idea that when everybody is working together, everyone has a chance to feel really good about the experience that they're having at school. So what I'd like to do now is turn things over to our students. We have two wonderful seniors who are here with us, Grace and Francesca, and I've invited them to speak to you on a couple of points. So Grace will speak first. She'll talk about transitioning actually from a co-ed school to a single gender school. So Grace, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So I went to a co-ed school for middle school and then went to Marymount, so an all-girls school for high school. And I have to say that I've really benefited from the experience of being in an all-girls school. For instance, I was a very timid participant in class. When I entered high school, I was really nervous to speak my opinions, and I wasn't very confident in my own skills as a learner, and also outside of the classroom as well. And being in an all-girls environment has really helped foster my personal voice, and now I'm always the first person to raise my hand in class, and I really enjoy being a part of the conversation. And another thing that has really been important for me during my time at Marymount is I went into high school not really being interested in science or STEM as a whole. I never thought I would want to pursue a career in those fields for sure. And after my freshman year, I loved biology so much, and ever since then I've been really interested in science, and now I'm going to study engineering in college, and I don't know if I would have had that same experience if I hadn't attended an all-girls school.
Yeah, so I've been at Marymount for 13 years, so I pretty much only know what it's like to be at a single-sex school. But I can honestly say it's definitely one of the most amazing opportunities for young girls because it really allows you to find your passion and have the supportive community of women trying to help you find your passion. And as mentioned before, like being able to see women in leadership positions or entering into these male-dominated fields is really motivating for young girls to see what they can become as well and not be afraid to try it out for themselves.
Absolutely. You know, and just so you all know, I spend a lot of my time in admissions talking about all girls schools to applicants because so many people have not had this experience. So many people come to us because they've been encouraged to look at one all girls school, and the rest of the schools they're looking at a co-ed, they just don't know much about it. They're kind of dubious, to say the least. And, you know, often what they say to me at the end is, after they've learned all of this, you know, they become actually our fiercest advocates for all girls schools. I had a dad say to me this year, now that I know what I know about all girls schools, I feel like I'd be doing my daughter a disservice if I didn't send her to an all girls school. I hear things like that all the time. So great. Topic 2, you want to move us on, Wendy? Or Tina?
Well, I'll just I'll gonna
I was
turn things over to the girls too for this part, so we can just have them jump in. You'll see some pictures of some of our students, and the girls are going to narrate for you some of their experiences at Marymount. So I think this is for Grace.
So hi again. One experience that I've really benefited from at Marymount is the independent science research class, which was an elective that was introduced during my junior year. And basically the class allows students to study what they're interested in science or STEM related fields as a part of their class, as a part of school, but outside of the normal coursework for science. So I was really passionate about molecular biology, but I was taking physics in my junior year and wanted to continue studying that outside of class. So I really appreciated the opportunity to continue my studies and about what I'm really passionate about. And over the past 2 years, I've been able to research combating antibiotic resistance with a bunch of new therapies. For instance, bacteriophage research is one area of interest for me. And as another thing I love about this class is being surrounded by other girls who are really passionate about their different fields of science. So I get to hear from people who are really interested in astronomy, for instance, even though that's not particularly what I want to study. And another thing that's great about this class is the opportunity to get experiences outside of Marymount. Through the independent science research class, I got an internship at Columbia University during last summer, where I got to get real lab experience and learn from professionals in the field. And I got to actually do research myself, which was very cool. And I also got to do a mentorship program where I worked with another woman in STEM, and I learned about computer science and data analysis. So the class was a really jumping off point for me to learn about a variety of different things as well. And then another highlight of my Marymount experience was the Bloomberg terminals. So every student has to be Bloomberg certified by the time they graduate, and Marymount has a bunch of Bloomberg terminals in our building. And the course allows students to become more financially literate by the time that they graduate, and you gain familiarity with key market concepts and financial language, as well as the Bloomberg terminal functions, and the goal of this program is to address the issue of not as many women entering finance fields. And even though I particularly don't want to go into finance and study it with my life, I really enjoyed this course, and I feel much more confident in dealing with personal finance throughout my life. And it was an amazing experience, and I definitely I'm very happy that all students at Marymount get to take it.
So another rewarding experience that students can take advantage of at Marymount are the exchanges that are offered. So depending on the language that a student takes, they can go on to many of our sister schools around the world. So I had the opportunity back in 2018 to go to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, which you can see on the right-hand side. There's a picture of me in front of Christ the Redeemer. And then I went to school. I stayed with a host family for a month. And then on weekends, I got to go sightseeing and explore the city. But what was really the most valuable to me was immersing myself into this new culture that I've never known about before, and forging relationships with the people I encountered. And it really opened my eyes to being a knowledgeable global citizen. And then there are also many clubs offered at Marymount that cover many of the interests that students may have. And if it doesn't exist, a student can always start it themselves. One of the clubs I'm in, and which Grace is also in, she's the co-president, is Singers, where we perform songs. Perform songs at two of our seasonal concerts, one in the winter and one in the spring. And then we also get the opportunity to travel every other year internationally and sing. And the previous year we would have gone to Italy, but of course that was unfortunately canceled due to COVID. And then another branch of our clubs are affinity spaces. So there's Asian Affinity, Black Girls Rock, and Latinx Affinity, which are our clubs for our people of color at our school and act as a safe space for each of the groups to talk about the injustices within their community or bond over their shared culture and find support in one another. I'm the vice president of Asian Affinity Group, and in that club, we talk about many of the injustices within our community, as well as help teach others about our community. So for example, we have events throughout the year, such as Lunar New Year, and we're going to have one for Asian American and Pacific Islander Month in May. We're going to have a few events for that. And then each affinity group has their own events. So Black Girls Rock has Harambe, and Latinx Affinity has the Latinx Heritage event. And then our other affinity is PRISM, which is for our members of our school who are part of the LGBTQ plus community, or those that are allies. And this is also a safe space for students to feel safe in their identity and find friends who also face similar challenges to them.
Now I'll talk about sports at Marymount. So for the fall, winter, and spring seasons, there are a variety of sports offerings for whatever a student is interested in. And I think Ms. Pagliacca mentioned this earlier, but many people who have never done a sport or people who haven't tried a specific sport go into new sports. And I think that's because of this all-girls environment. For myself, I had never ran before high school, but I decided to join the spring track team in my freshman year. And this was one of the best choices I ever made. Being on the team has really helped me foster teamwork skills and also just being able to gain confidence in myself outside of the classroom as well. I've also gained a lifelong skill and a lifelong passion for running, which is so helpful, especially during COVID times, to have a positive thing to do with my time that's not just sitting in my room. And the team has been very successful during my time at Marymount. I also joined the cross country and winter track team. And last year, the winter track team's 4x400 relay got to go to the state championships in New York. And that's an experience that I'll never forget. And being able to succeed with my team was really incredible. And also, one highlight of Marymount sports is that there are people of all skill levels on these teams. So for myself, I entered freshman year not having ran before, but I was on the team with someone who was participating at the state level and was nationally ranked in the mile. And and I've been able to learn from her, and she's been a mentor for me as well. And this girl is Lauren Heskin, and she's going to run Division I at Lehigh University next year. And she's an amazing person and the most decorated athlete in Marymount history. But it just goes to show that there's a place for you on Marymount sports teams.
I love that. At Marymount, we talk a lot about how so much of what we teach and what girls learn happens outside of the classroom, where they have experiential learning opportunities. So this is where students are active in their own learning. They learn by doing, having firsthand experience rather than being told something or reading in a book. At Marymount, we're located right across the street from the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where girls of all ages, starting at nursery all the way up to 12, are able to go over to the museum. We actually consider it part of our campus. And there they integrate their studies of art, of history, literature, religion, you name it. Anything, even math, frankly, it all comes alive in the artifacts, the paintings, and the sculptures that are right in front of them. And yes, also that slide, I would say another great example is performing arts. It's a really big focus of our curriculum, as Jillian was mentioning. The girls are asked to bring their education to life by getting up on stage and performing on a regular basis. They're writing, they're acting out their own scripts, as well as there are just endless opportunities for drama, musical theater, those as extracurricular activities. And this is really just one of the ways where girls are encouraged to find their voice. Now, Marymount has looked a little different this year because of the pandemic, as it has at all schools. So I will pass this on to the girls to share a little bit about what Marymount has looked this particular school year.
Yeah, so having to work from home really hasn't stopped us from having many of our in-person amazing experiences. And for me, what has been the most rewarding is still being able to have our clubs and retreats, and we can all hop onto Zoom and still be able to connect with each other despite the online format and really bond over whatever the event is. And I think that's like something that's really great.
And Marymount has been committed to being at least partially opened since September, which has been really helpful for me, especially as a senior. I wanted to be able to spend at least some of my time in person, and Marymount's been committed to doing it in a safe way. So we've had a hybrid learning plan where some of the weeks are in person and some of the weeks are at home, depending on your grade. And for me, I've really appreciated the in-person days. I think it really enhances my learning experience. But above all, being able to have sports still is really important for my mental health. Even though we haven't had competition because that's out of Marymount's control and that's, the league's decision, we've still had been able to have the team experience of practicing together and bettering ourselves together. So again, that's a nice highlight of Marymount's hybrid learning plan, but it has felt pretty normal despite everything that's going on recently. Another thing we wanted to talk about was some of our favorite teachers and classes during our time at Marymount. So for myself, I've really loved all of my math teachers and my math classes. Over the past 4 years, I've always been found in the Math Center, which is a classroom at Marymount where all the math teachers have their offices. And if you need help with a math problem, or if you just want to talk about something interesting, you can go into the Math Center. And it's this great collaborative environment where everyone can learn math together or study for a test or whatever it is that you need. And for myself, one of my teachers, Miss Arkin, who I had for my first 2 years of high school, I would always go to her and just talk to her about whatever, whether it's a hard challenge problem she gave our class or a math problem I needed help with. She was always there for me and really helped me find my love for math, both in and outside of the classroom. And now, one of my favorite classes that I've taken at Marymount is AP Calculus BC, because it feels like a large culmination of everything I've learned in math thus far. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have this kind of culminating class. And I'm really appreciated having a safe space like the Math Center to go to when taking this class, for sure.
Yeah, and one of my favorite classes definitely was humanities, which happens during our 9th grade year. And this is a subject that incorporates art history, and English. And it's really hands-on. It's really interesting how you could be learning about one subject. Let's say we're talking about ancient Greece. Or no, maybe we'll do ancient Rome. So we're learning about ancient Roman history, and then we're reading Julius Caesar in our English class, and then we're looking at Roman artifacts in art history. And we go to the Met for art history. So Marymount has a classroom at the Met, and every week we go once or twice to the Met and look at these artifacts and incorporate them into what we're learning, and really like have a well-rounded knowledge on that topic. And then it also has like 2 projects during the year, World Civilizations and the Met Project, which are very big projects where we can we pick a subject that's interesting to us and flesh it out into a project that we present to the rest of our class and our teachers.
Thank you, girls. One very exciting thing that's happening in Marymount right now is that we are in the midst of a building project. Our flagship building is on 84th and 5th Ave. It's these 3 beautiful mansions put together, as we said, across from the Met and Central Park. But we are building this brand new building up at 97th Street, which is about a 15-minute walk away from our flagship building. So our plan is to have nursery through 5th grade be in the mansions, and then 6th through 12th grade be up at 97th Street. Here are some of the pictures of our new building. It's very exciting. You can find all the renderings on our website that the architects had created. But in essence, it's going to have a large fabrication lab, an amazing dining facility, beautiful gym, big auditorium space. So it's a really exciting time to be joining Marymount. My girls who are in college are very jealous that they're not going to be able to take advantage of it. Maybe their children will be able to. So that should be ready fall of 2023. So 2 years from now about. the building will be ready. So that's exciting for Marymount. And I thought it also just would be important to mention at this point, probably one of the most common questions I get is about colleges. You know, these girls are in the midst of this process right now. Everyone always says, where do all your girls go to college? What's, you know, is there a feeder? And I would say the answer is no, that our girls go to colleges and universities all over. You know, obviously, like many private schools in the city, the Ivy Leagues are always popular. The East Coast schools are popular, Catholic colleges and universities. But the students at Marymount are really encouraged to look at schools all across the United States and internationally. They do attend a lot of different schools, and we encourage them to find that great fit in places where they can thrive and be leaders, just like they were at Marymount. So I just think that's interesting to think about. And obviously, if you want to apply into the school, you can learn a little bit more about the colleges as well. Jillian, you want to talk a little bit about the process of applying to Marymount?
Sure. Tina, did you want to jump in at all in between? Otherwise, I'll just go ahead.
Yes, sure. So that's really exciting. The new building looks beautiful. It really is. So, I think it's really good that we got a really good picture of what like life at Marymount are in both in academics and in sports, in extracurricular. It's really amazing, and you can take full advantage of the Metropolitan Museum of Arts for the girls. So I think that right now, lots of families probably are wondering what is about the application. When we talk about, think about it, apply to colleges, how about the application to Marymount, and what you're looking for, and how to demonstrate those qualities, and how do they know that what, I think another question that is maybe not maybe an uncommon question is, what type of girls are not a good fit for all girls school, right? So that I think that can give the parents a really good idea about the fit. 所以呢，刚才我们就是Caroline， 然后 Jenny， 还有所有的那个 Marymount 的学生给我们介绍了，在 Marymount 以及在一个女校的生活是怎么样的，从学习方面、课外活动方面，然后再从体育方面。那么我想，然后他们刚刚也提到了申请的那个大学的选择。那么我想大家现在肯定都在想，那么需要申请那个 Marymount 它的那个申请的程序，他们在是什么？然后他们在寻找什么样的一个女孩？需要什么样的特质？然后我觉得更重要的一个问题就是说，什么样的孩子并不适合在这种单一性别的学校？我觉得这样可能可以给那个家长们更多的一个 understanding what we are looking for and what is best for me。好，那么下面呢就请 Jillian 来介绍。Okay, Jillian, I'll give it back to you.
Okay, great, thanks. So I would say, in terms of what we're looking for when we have applicants come through, I do primarily manage the 6th through the middle and the high school admissions process. So maybe Carolyn may want to speak a little bit more about the littles. So I really do like to see a confident or an emerging confident mathematician. I think strong writing is very important because it crosses over into so many of our courses. I do think that character and integrity are very important. I think that I'm always delighted when a student has a strong point of view, if there are particular causes or issues or passions that she's already developing even before coming to Marymount. And I think also it's extremely exciting to think of students coming into our community who are able to bring something that isn't already there. So I think, for example, of families who are considering relocating internationally, that is very brave and exciting. And I certainly think that brings something to the community that infuses a new kind of spirit. New conversations can be had. Perhaps the student has studied in depth history that our students have not, and they can bring that into the conversations when those topics are covered in class. In terms of showing all of those things through the admissions process, just speaking more generally in terms of admissions, I do think students really do need to be ready to write. Many schools ask for writing samples at the time of the interview. So that's an opportunity to demonstrate a strong voice in one's writing. And also that point of view I was talking about. So many questions that you would be asked to answer would be open-ended. So to be able to articulate where, something that's unique to you in your writing, that's going to come in really handy. I think also, people like me, we love talking to students and making sure that your daughter feels comfortable talking to an unfamiliar adult and talking about herself. That will go a really long way. We're not trying to quiz the students when we meet them. We just want to chat, and it helps if they feel like feel comfortable, and can make a little joke or talk in an authentic way. I think sometimes families may feel like it's important to rehearse their daughters and make sure they answer everything just so. But the best interviews are actually those that feel comfortable and natural and casual, frankly. And the last thing is that one of the most important gauges of student success that we have access to are recommendation letters, because those letters reflect every day how a student is performing, turning in work, raising her hand in class. So I think one of the best things that applicants can do is make sure that they are doing the work every day, coming and are present in their classes every day, because teachers pick up on that. And then they write really nice recommendation letters that we then have a chance to read.
I'll jump in a little bit more about the little ones, because I'm part of the team that is interviewing girls for our kindergarten. That's one of our major entry points. We offer a lot of different ways where we access this information. It's less about skills. They need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. I would say it's more about how the girls think, how they problem solve. We're looking for girls who can collaborate and work in small groups, can be a part of a classroom setting, that can work independently. We love little worker bees. We love, obviously, kind girls who are going to be great additions to a class. It is, I would say it's a rigorous curriculum, even starting in that kindergarten level. So we are looking for girls that can match the pace of our curriculum, that can kind of keep up with that. It's a big building. There's a lot of stairs. So it's also, kids that are going to be okay moving from this place to that place, and engaging with the older girls. We have big little sister programs. But I'd say even more importantly, probably is the parents. We're looking for parents who really want what we're offering, who understand and believe in our mission, who want to be partners with us and work with us. Because, I always say this, that, at some point something's going to be hard. And I'm sure Grace and Francesca can relate to this. At some point you make a mistake or something happens to you. There's bumps in the road. And we find the success is when parents work with us to make those tricky moments growth moments, so that they do become the kind of girls you're seeing right here as you meet Grace and Francesca. So real partners, I would say, is probably the most important thing. A little bit about our parent body. I just think it's interesting for you to know that we have a particularly international parent body, from so many different countries around the world. If you were in our halls listening to our parents, there'd be accents from all over the place. A lot of people speak different languages at home, in their homes. We are not a boarding school. We do not offer housing opportunities for international students. We're not an ESL school. We do, if somebody's moving from abroad, we do expect that they would be living with a family member or an adult who would be a part of the school, who would be attending events, who would be at academic conferences and talking about their child. So that's a little different than some schools, and I get that question a lot from international families. I would say we do have very young children who often come with really limited English, and that is fine. I care more about their language ability in their native language, and that comes very quickly. If they're applying in the middle and upper schools, they need to have a very strong, be proficient in English, because we're heavy in our writing and in our reading, as Jillian was just saying. People always ask if we offer or help people get the I-20 visas. We do. We're one of the schools that do that. We are starting that process right now with our families that are beginning next fall. In terms of translation, you'll find when you go on our website, there is a click on the bottom where you're able to change the website into the language of your choice. So will be able to view everything through Google Translate. You're lucky to be associated with Maccabee, because they, and I've had this experience before, they will come on and actually translate during an interview. And that's exceptionally helpful for us. We do have a lot of people in our community, educators or family members who speak different languages, and we often will pull on and ask them to help with different families during the process if there are questions, or even when they're in the school. That's an ongoing relationship that we have. So I think that's just important for all of you to know, that sometimes the parents that I interview do not have very strong English, and that's something that we can work with. So that's just a little bit about the application process. Tina, do you want to move on to questions?
Sure. I just want to jump on for two little stories we had with you with Crystal and Winnie. So I'll speak it in Mandarin if you don't mind. 所以呢，就是说，在这里我也想跟大家分享一个，就是2个非常真实的小故事，我觉得可以让大家就是说，感受到就是 Marymount 是怎样一个学校的。我们有2个女孩，然后就是说被那个 Marymount 拿到了 Marymount 的录取，一个是来自新加坡的一个小女孩。然后，她是前年申请的19年申请。然后是2020年9月入学，所以大家可以想到，那个2020年是那个正好是新冠 COVID， 所以呢，他就不能过来入学。当然，家长就是说也是觉得非常喜欢这个学校，也非常想过来，然后就跟学校商量说能不能够推迟入学，因为去年是非常多的国际家庭都无法过来，但是我们也帮很多学校，就是说帮很多家庭去跟学校沟通，去争取延期1年入学。很多学校都说 OK 行，那你可以不过来，但是那你要先交一个多少钱的一个定金，对吧？然后我们帮你保留学位。然后有的呢，就是有的学校比较严格，然后如果说你已经签了合同，那你如果说是你就要交全额定金才能给你保留这个学位，因为如果你不交全额学费的话，那学校相当于就是损失一整年的这样一个学费，所以他们是不允许的。我们也就是说经历过很多这种，当时也是非常的非常的 stressful。当然我们也很了解。在作为就是说不在美国的家庭的这种顾虑啊，为了安全考虑，但是我觉得 Marymount 非常让我感动的一点就是他们非常的大气，就是说没问题，我们非常的理解，就是说你也不用交任何什么占位费啊、定金啊什么，你明年直接入学就可以。就像这种胸襟、这种气度，就让我觉得这个学校的这个还是非常大气的。他们那在这种
你那个叫做是
是哪位？麻烦你先静音一下好吗 ？Can you please mute？ 所以呢，让我还是觉得挺感动的，就是 Marymount 对国际学生的这个照顾。然后还有一个呢，是我们本地的学生，是从新泽西 relocate 过来，从 New Jersey Public School 新泽西的那个一个公校过来。然后那个孩子呢，他的学习是比较超前的。大家知道我们中国孩子的那个学习都是非常好的。然后他是过来上4年级，开学没有几周以后， 然后他就说，哎，这个太简单了，对我来说没有什么挑战性，所以他就自己跑去跟校长说，他说我要升级，我要升到5年级。然后呢，他也是这个胆子也是非常大，然后校长的回复也让我觉得非常的意外。他说可以啊，那你来考个试吧，在英语啊、数学啊、写作、阅读各个方面进行一个评估，看孩子到底他的目前的这个学习能力在哪里。然后考试完以后呢，显示这个孩子确实各项方面都不错，然后孩子呢在心智上面也是比同龄人要成熟一点，所以学校就破格批准他加入5年级，加入5年级的这个学习。然后这个过程呢，也让我觉得就是这也是女校鼓励的一种，就是孩子们去为自己争取。当你发现有什么问题，然后你想要什么，你自己去跟学校说，去争取这样一个机会。然后学校呢也是以一种非常开明接受的一个态度来听取学生的这个意见以及提议。所以我觉得就是这2个小事吧，我想跟大家分享一下，这样大家能够有一个different aspect. Okay, so my sharing is finished, and now we are opening up the question to everyone. So everyone, I see some parents already typed in questions in the chat box. We're going to answer that. You can also, like, if you want, you can just turn on your microphone and talk. But before we officially do that, I think we've talked so much about everything, right, for 50 minutes. I think I want to know that, what are you thinking about all girls school now? I'd like just use one word to describe it. And Wendy, are you still there? Yes, thank you. 用一个词来形容你对那个女校的印象，因为大家也是和前面一样，扫二维码，然后 type in。Leadership. Leader. Supportive. Okay, I see in the chat box. Leadership or supportive. Strong. Elegant. I like that. 优雅。Confident. Elegant. Open-minded. That's great. Okay, so now voice and vision. Oh, I like that vision. Unique. That's great. Okay, now so we're gonna do the Q&A now, and feel free to type in all the words that you can think of. So the first question is, so I'm looking at, let me know, we're gonna in the order. So number 1, the question is from Carrie Lee. She typed in Chinese. 非常认同吧，应该是女校孩子更自信独立，想问学校怎么平衡或者引导女孩们对异性的相处。I think this is going to be a very common question you got, Carol and Jillian. So they really like agree about girls in all girls school are more confident and independent. They want to know that how the school cultivate or balance their interaction with boys.
Sure, absolutely. you know, and the girls can jump in quickly on this too, but you know, starting in middle school, there's a lot of inter-school activities, there's orchestra, there's service opportunities, there's little dances, there's ways in which they interact academically with boys' schools. I think being in the heart of New York City also helps that the girls do interact. They have a lot of, my daughters have, and I'm sure these girls would agree, they have a lot of guy friends because there are a lot of boys' schools. So they are naturally reaching out and have a lot of social opportunities. What I love is that when they're at Marymount, they're focused in. They're not worried about how they look. They're focused in on their sports, on their clubs, on their academics. That they're doing their thing, and all of the kind of that social piece happens outside of the school. But they do compete in academic clubs and extracurriculars and do very well against boys and in all boys or co-ed settings. You guys would agree with that?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunities to meet people outside of school, and there's a lot of events that are super. There's a bunch of dances, or if you're really interested, the plays are a great opportunity to meet guys. I know a lot of people have found really long-lasting friends from those. So, you know, if that's really important to you, there are definitely ways to go about it. And I think there was a question for me as well about one thing that held me back in the co-ed middle school. And I think, I don't know if this is just middle school in particular, or if this was, would have continued in high school, but there was a theme of boys very much belittling girls. There was a lot of sexism at my middle school. And even if it wasn't very blatant, it was always kind of under the surface. And it kind of allowed me, it definitely hurt my confidence in and out of the classroom. I didn't feel as motivated to try new things because whether it was something that was male dominated or whether it was just something that was kind of looked down upon for girls, it was never something that crossed my mind. And I think that an all-girls school gave me the freedom to kind of try whatever I was really interested in without that fear of being belittled for something, or without, you know, being pressured by a male dominated group or field. So hopefully that answers that question.
Anyone want to add on top of that, or we should move on to the next? Okay, then we're going to come to the next question. And it is from Emma John, typed in the chat box. Any courses or programs on Asia and Asian American history?
I'm happy to speak for a moment about this. I would say that English and history are aware of making sure that we are representing our Asian and Asian American students so that they see themselves reflected either in the history or in the text. So in our lower middle school, we've recently introduced a novel that the students read that actually centers on the Korean experience. And in 6th grade, there's a study of the ancient world, and they spend a big chunk of the year actually on ancient China. 8th grade is a contemporary world history curriculum where they focus for a big chunk of the year on modern China. And then there's a course offered to our seniors where their history electives are, they kind of take a deeper dive in a particular area of history. And we do offer a modern China course. The entire course is only on China.
Well, modern China course, that's great. Okay, so and Grace and Francisca, did you mention your college where you would be going?
Yeah, not yet. So for me, I'm going to the University of St. Andrews in Scotland next year. So that's where I'll be going.
And I'm still deciding where I'm going to go to college, but 2 schools I'm thinking about are the University of Southern California and the University of Virginia in Charlottesville.
That's cool. I think Wendy graduated from USC. Okay, And another question, this is a really good question from Emma John again. At grade 6 or older, teenage age, how do girls deal with their own struggles and competition among the same gender? It's not uncommon in my observation. How do you help each other or reach out to get help?
I'll just jump into this one because I'm a mother of a 6th grader at Marymount, so I can speak to this from wearing a different hat. I have found that our middle school girls are surprisingly collaborative and supportive. They love working together. They are, even in COVID times, they're finding ways of learning together, studying together. It's hard for me to emphasize enough how the environment raises everyone up. And the teachers are so engaged with the students that the idea of asking for help, this is not stigmatized at all. It's more like, oh, I get quality time with this teacher who's pretty great. I also teach in the middle school. And 2 days ago, I have some students working on a paper, and I had back-to-back meetings with students, and we talked, just the two of us, and it was very productive and enjoyable. And I send them off on their way, and they do the next part on their own. So I'd say that the collaboration student to student, student to teacher is much closer. I don't know if it's particular just to Marymount, but I think it's certainly more likely at an all-girls school.
Does that answer your question, Emma, if Emma is still here?
Yes, yes, that answered my question. Yeah, and thank you for the responses.
Okay, great.
Could I jump in on Claire's question? I see we're hitting 10 o'clock and I'm aware that people probably need to jump off, but this is such a great question about what it's like for girls who go to all girls schools to go to a co-ed college or university, which is typically what most of our girls do, the vast majority. And honestly, I will tell you, the alums come back and they are so shocked that so many girls don't raise their hand and don't participate. And they're looking around, they are mostly seeing that it is the guys in their classes that are raising their hands and jumping into discussion. And it's just a foreign concept to them. They have something to say, they're comfortable, they're articulate young women. And I do remember myself going to college and seeing that the girls who had attended all girls schools were absolutely the ones that were the most confident and had their voice in school. So I thought that was interesting.
Okay, there's a quick question for you too. At which age student can engage in the exchange program?
Yeah, I answered that and a couple others. I just wrote in the chat some answers to those. Yeah, we start in 7th grade. The whole entire 8th grade does an international study tour. There's lots of shorter tours, some 3-week exchanges, a full semester. So a lot of different opportunities for international study and travel.
Okay, great. Is there any, I know that lots of us, it's really getting really late, either in Asia or need to go back to work here. And do you have any last questions you want to raise to the school, or you can also feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions.